Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to get into something pretty complex and fascinating, this molecule, CD73. It seems to play a really big role in how tumors grow, but also might hold the key to some brand new cancer treatments.
Absolutely.
We're going to be focusing mostly on this one potential treatment today. It's a monoclonal antibody called TY23 and how it targets CD73.
Interesting.
Now, has anyone ever felt like cancer just outsmarts our own body somehow?
Oh, for sure. That's pretty much what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah, that's where CD73 comes in. It's like it puts up this molecular shield around the tumor cells, and it basically makes them invisible to our own immune system.
Exactly. It's wild, right? What's really interesting is how CD73 does this.
Yeah.
It manipulates a process that's already there in our bodies, a process that's actually important for keeping our immune system balanced.
Right.
You know what I mean?
How does this shield actually work?
Okay, so picture this.
Right.
We've got this battlefield, and our immune system's all ready to attack these tumor cells.
Right.
CD73 comes in and releases a ton of these peace treaties.
Peace treaties?
Yeah, basically, it's a molecule called adenosine.
Adenosine.
Yeah, and it tells our immune cells to stand down.
Adenosine. I feel like I've heard that before.
Yeah, you probably have. It helps regulate sleep cycles.
Well, right.
But when it comes to the immune system, it's like this big off switch.
Okay.
It weakens the immune response, you know?
So it's like instead of helping our body rest and repair, it's helping the tumor survive.
Exactly. And this is where CD73 is really important because it's the main enzyme that changes this molecule, AMP, into adenosine.
Gotcha.
So picture this.
Yeah.
When cells get damaged or stressed, they release this thing called ATP. It's like a danger signal.
Okay.
Then this other enzyme called CD39 converts that ATP into AMP. And then CD73 steps in, takes that AMP, and transforms it into adenosine.
So it's like this chain reaction or like a relay race.
That's a great way to put it.
Each enzyme passes the baton to the next one.
Right.
And in the end, you get adenosine.
Exactly. And what happens because of all this adenosine is that the immune response gets suppressed.
Okay.
So all those powerful immune cells, like T cells and NK cells, they become basically powerless against the tumor.
Wow. So it's like taking away the weapons of the soldiers who are supposed to be fighting for us.
Exactly.
Now, tell me more about these T cells and NK cells.
Sure.
What makes them so important in fighting cancer?
T cells are really amazing. They're like specialists.
Okay.
They can recognize and kill specific cancer cells.
Oh, wow.
Think of them as highly trained assassins targeting and destroying those rogue cells.
So they're like the snipers of the immune system.
Exactly. And then we've got NK cells. They're more like first responders. They act really fast to get rid of any cell that looks suspicious or out of place.
So they're kind of like the patrol officers.
Yeah, you could say that.
Making sure everything's in order.
Exactly.
So adenosine basically messes up their whole operation.
Yeah, it stops them from doing their job.
Gotcha.
And it actually gets worse.
Oh, no.
Adenosine also makes these other immune cells called regulatory T cells, or TREGs for short.
TREGs.
Yeah, it makes them more active.
Okay.
Normally, these TREGs prevent the immune response from going overboard.
Right.
But when adenosine is around, they end up suppressing the anti-tumor response even more.
So it's like a double negative, huh?
Pretty much, yeah.
Now, what about dendritic cells? I remember they're involved in activating the T cells.
Oh, yeah. Dendritic cells are super important.
Okay.
They're like the intelligence officers of the immune system.
Okay.
They capture bits of the enemy, in this case, tumor cells, and show them to the P cells.
Okay.
It's like they're saying, hey, look at this. This is what we're up against. Let's attack.
Right. But guess what? Adenosine inhibits this process, too.
So it's like adenosine is cutting all communication within the immune system.
Yeah, you got it.
It's like the immune system's completely in the dark.
Exactly. It's like disrupting the whole defense network. Pretty scary stuff.
It is pretty scary.
Yeah.
CD73 is clearly a big problem here.
Yeah, it is.
How often do cancers actually use this pathway?
Unfortunately, it's pretty common.
Oh, no.
You see CD73 overexpression.
Overexpression, meaning there's too much of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It happens in a bunch of different cancers, like breast cancer,
Oh, wow.
lung cancer,
Okay.
colorectal cancer,
Uh-huh.
ovarian cancer,
Gotcha.
and melanoma.
So if anyone listening or someone they know has one of these cancers,
Yeah,
this is something they should definitely learn more about, right?
absolutely.
It's like knowing your enemy's tactics.
Exactly.
So that brings us to TY23.
Right.
TY23, it kind of sounds like a secret weapon, you know?
Yeah, kind of. What makes this monoclonal antibody so special?
Well, think of TY23 as like a really good decoder.
The decoder.
Yeah, it's designed to crack the code of CD73 and basically take down that molecular shield we talked about. It
What?
specifically targets CD73 and
Yeah.
binds to it.
Mm-hmm.
This blocks CD73 from producing adenosine.
So it's like sending in a special unit
Right, exactly.
to intercept those peace treaties, those
Yeah.
adenosine molecules, before they even get to the immune cells.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And the really amazing thing about TY23
Yeah.
is how precise it is.
Hmm.
It only targets CD73.
Okay.
So it doesn't mess with other important processes in the body.
Well, that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with something as complex as the immune system, you want to make sure you're hitting the right targets.
Exactly.
So how does this binding actually work? Does TY23 just destroy CD73 completely?
Not really.
Okay.
Think of it more like a clamp.
A clamp.
Yeah, TY23 attaches to CD73 and prevents it from interacting with AMP.
So no more adenosine production.
Right. CD73 is still there,
Mm.
but it's basically useless.
Okay, so it can't do its job.
Nope. It's like we cut the communication lines.
Right.
No more adenosine messages getting to the immune cells.
I like that analogy, cutting the communication lines.
Yeah. And because TY23 is an antibody, it can travel throughout the body.
Okay,
It searches for CD73 wherever it is.
like a search party owl.
Exactly. Especially in the tumor microenvironment,
Okay.
where it's causing the most trouble.
So let's talk about real-world stuff now.
Sure.
What kind of cancers are being studied with TY23?
Researchers are looking at TY23 for a lot of different cancers,
Oh.
especially the ones that are known for having a lot of CD73, like breast cancer,
Right.
lung cancer, colorectal cancer,
Okay.
ovarian cancer, and melanoma.
And is it being used on its own or with other treatments?
Well, with cancer, it's unlikely that just one treatment will be the magic bullet. So a lot of clinical trials are looking at TY23 in combination with other therapies.
Okay, so it's more like a multi-pronged attack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hitting the cancer from different angles.
What other therapies are being considered for these combinations?
One promising approach is combining TY23 with checkpoint inhibitors.
Checkpoint inhibitors.
Yeah, those are drugs that basically release the brakes on the immune system.
Okay,
So the immune system can attack the cancer cells more aggressively.
I see.
Sometimes these checkpoint inhibitors don't work as well
Why is that?
because of that immunosuppressive environment created by adenosine.
Ah, right. Adenosine is suppressing the immune system.
Exactly.
So by adding TY23, you're lifting that suppression.
Exactly. You're giving the checkpoint inhibitors a better chance to work.
Hmm.
It's like clearing the battlefield.
Right, removing all the obstacles.
Yeah.
Now, are there any other combinations being considered?
Researchers are also looking at combining TY23 with chemotherapy and radiotherapy.
Chemotherapy and radiotherapy.
Yeah.
But wouldn't those treatments actually cause more ATP to be released,
That's true.
which would lead to even more adenosine?
Yeah, but that's where TY23 comes in.
Okay.
By using it with chemo or radiotherapy, we can prevent that surge of adenosine.
Clever.
It's like turning a disadvantage into an advantage.
Right.
We can boost the immune-stimulating effects of chemo and radiotherapy by limiting that immunosuppressive backlash.
It's like using the enemy's own weapons against them.
Exactly.
But with any new treatment, there've got to be challenges.
Of course, especially when we're talking about something as complex as the immune system.
What are some of the key areas researchers are looking at?
Well, safety is a big one.
Of course.
Anytime you mess with the immune system, there's always a chance of something unexpected happening.
Right.
So researchers are really careful in clinical trials.
Uh-huh.
They watch patients closely for any bad side effects,
Got it.
and they're working on ways to minimize those risks.
It's a tough balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to boost the immune system without causing any harm.
It definitely is.
And what about resistance? Could cancer cells figure out how to resist TY23?
That's another challenge we have to think about.
Yeah.
Cancer cells are really good at adapting.
Right.
They can find ways to evade even the most targeted therapies.
It's like a never-ending game of cat and mouse.
Exactly. That's why research never stops. Scientists are always studying these resistance mechanisms
Okay.
and figuring out ways to overcome them.
Like new combinations of drugs.
Yeah, or maybe even developing the next generation of CD73 inhibitors.
It sounds like a constant race.
It is, but a really important one.
It has been really interesting learning about CD73 and TY23.
Glad you think so.
We've gone from these complex molecular pathways all the way to clinical trials.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the bigger picture stuff,
Okay.
I wanted to get your take on the future of CD73 targeted therapy.
Sure.
What kind of impact do you think it could have on cancer treatment overall?
I think we're at the beginning of a new era in cancer treatment, an era where we can actually use the power of the immune system to fight this disease.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And CD73 blockade is a great example of this progress. As we learn more about this pathway and develop even better therapies, we're getting closer to a future where cancer can be controlled, maybe even cured.
That's an incredible vision.
It is.
It really shows how important this research is
Yeah,
and how much it could impact people's lives.
absolutely.
Now, you mentioned earlier that CD73 might be involved in other diseases too,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
not just cancer.
Right.
Can you tell us more about that?
So while most of the focus on CD73 right now is on cancer, there's more and more evidence suggesting that it might play a role in other things too,
Like what kinds of things?
like autoimmune diseases,
Wow.
inflammatory disorders,
Gotcha.
and even neurological diseases.
So it's not just limited to cancer.
Nope. For example, some studies are suggesting that CD73 could be contributing to inflammation and tissue damage in diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and multiple sclerosis.
Oh, wow.
Other research suggests that CD73 might be involved in regulating blood flow and blood pressure.
Really?
Yeah, so it could even impact cardiovascular health.
It seems like CD73 is involved in a lot of different processes in the body.
It really is.
Both in health and disease.
Exactly. And the more we learn about it, the more connections we find and the more possibilities we discover for new treatments.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive.
I agree.
I'm sure our listeners have learned a lot
I hope so.
about how the immune system works
Yeah,
and the potential of scientific exploration.
absolutely. It's an exciting time to be in this field.
Before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to share with our audience?
I think the main takeaway here is that we're on the verge of a revolution in medicine.
The revolution.
Yeah, one where we can use the power of the immune system to fight disease in ways we never thought possible before.
That's amazing.
It is. And CD73 blockade is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, it really is.
As we continue to learn more about the immune system and develop more targeted therapies, we're getting closer to a future where diseases like cancer can be managed effectively or even completely eliminated.
That's a powerful message.
It is.
It gives me a lot of hope for the future.
Me too.
Yeah. It really is amazing what scientists can do.
It is.
And for our listeners who want to learn more about CD73 and immunotherapy, we'll have some extra resources in the show notes.
Great.
But as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I'm just in awe of how intricate our bodies are.
Me too. It's incredible.
And the potential we have to discover new ways to heal.
Absolutely.
It's like we're exploring this huge uncharted territory, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Finding all these hidden pathways and secrets. That could be the key to treating some of the toughest diseases out there.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And we're not even close to being done exploring.
Not even close.
Each new discovery gets us closer to a future where diseases like cancer can be managed or even completely wiped out.
It's a future worth fighting for.
Absolutely. I hope this deep dive has sparked some curiosity in our listeners.
Me too.
And made them want to learn more about this incredible field of research.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
Exactly. The more we know about our bodies and how diseases work, the better we can advocate for our own health.
I completely agree.
It's been fantastic exploring the world of CD73 with you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for sharing your expertise with us.
Anytime. And remember, folks, the quest for knowledge never ends. Keep exploring, stay curious, and never underestimate what humans can do.
That's a great point. And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into CD73 and immunotherapy.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next time for more exciting explorations into the world of science and medicine.